So, hello everyone. I'm Srishti Gaur. Along with me, I have Mr. Ankit Bhalla. He's the manager at Griha Council, and we also have Prachi Pandey with us, who's working as a project officer with the Griha Council. So today we'll be hosting the brief decoding session, wherein we will be, try to sort of freeze out the brief. How do we need to go about the design, and what all were the queries that were received from you? So this entire session would take, as in cover all the aspects of the FAQs that we received and the brief that is going to be floated out. So I will be sharing my screen and then Ankit sir would be taking us forward.
Okay, well then great. Good evening, everyone. We will, we have lost a lot of time in terms of the connectivity issues, but without wasting any further time, I'll quickly go through the session brief for you guys so that you have a fair enough understanding of what needs to be done for this year's trophy. So this is the first time we are hosting this session just after the launch of the GRIHA NASA Trophy brief. And this session, I think, will help you guys, in terms of defining the design parameters that you need to address for this year's competition. So I believe you must have all gone through the brief which has been shared with you 2 weeks, I think a week back, roughly a week back. And this year, we are trying to address the social aspects of sustainability and create transformative spaces. Now, in my session, in these present slides, I'm going to take you through the journey that how do you address social aspects? What are these social aspects? How important they are as parts of the sustainability drive, and how can you create transformative spaces? Well, I'll quickly go through. So first, I'm going to define the site, that the problem that has been given to you, and for this year's design brief, the problem that has been given to you to design a multifunctional promenade development in Puri, Odisha, and this is the screenshot of the site, which has already been shared with you. It is just right across to the ocean shore, and you have this very beautiful site there for you to design the promenade. Now, the coordinates, the contour drawings have already been shared with you in AutoCAD format, which tells you the slope line. There was a concern which I just went through with when we were going through the brief. So this is not a sandy terrain. This is a hard strata. So you don't have to treat it as a sandy terrain. It is a hard strata. It is like a plain ground that you have, where you have to come up with your design. Now, I think you can go through the contour draft, the contour lines, the draft, which is there on the site from the current sheet that has been, or the CAD file which has been shared with you. Next to this is that, we'll like to, first explain that what are transformative spaces. Now, these spaces are nothing, but spaces which could be used for multiple social aspects, which address multiple social aspects. At the same time, they solve literal things or aspects such as, security, economy, environment. So, if you take the case example of Manik Chowk of Ahmedabad, I believe you must all have heard about it, or those people who haven't heard about the Manik Chowk of Ahmedabad, and I'll like, just highlight the key features of this place. So you see two photographs. One photograph is during the night time, and another photograph is during the daytime. Now this is of the same place. Now during the morning hours, this place acts as a jewelry market. So there are a lot of jewelry makers, jewelers who are there residing in this entire alley where they are selling their jewelry. So you have the entire alley with jewelry showrooms. Now, to make sure that the space is lively and you do not have chances of theft, to keep it lively and active, in the nighttime, the same space is transformed into a eating joint, which is open the entire night. Now, this space acts as a space where people transmit each other, they exchange their ideas, culture is exchanged, and at the same time, people take the delicacy of the cuisine which is served in Ahmedabad. Now, on similar lines, this is not something which is just there in Ahmedabad, but there's another example which is the Sarafa Bazaar in Indore. And likewise of the principles that we have, just now seen in the Ahmedabad case, exactly the same thing is, being practiced in Indore, where in the morning in the Sarafa Bazaar, you have the jewelry showroom, and in the night time, it turns out into a eating joint. Now, so there are, multiple benefits of a transformative space. The first benefit is that, you are using the land at its multiple, requirement peak. So as we all know that, that every inch of land is very precious, and especially in India, since we are now the leaders in the world, we are the most populated country in the world now. We have surpassed China, and which certainly means that, every inch of space that we have is very precious. So to make sure that, that we do judicious, use to our land that is there, and land is also a very precious resource. So it is now time that, we start thinking of transformative spaces. And that is what the whole idea of this year's design brief is. We want you guys to, focus on 3 pillars of sustainability for this particular design that you come up with for this competition. You need to make sure that your project or your design should be socially viable. Of course, it should address the environmental concern. And the other thing is that it should be economically viable. So there is a term called economic sustainability, there is a term called social sustainability, and there's a term called environmental sustainability. And you guys have to make sure that you address all these 3 pillars in your design. Sorry. Not just that, the major focus that we're going to make on this entire, gambit of 3 domains on these 3 pillars is majorly on the social part, where we are making sure that you need to ensure that you are improving the quality of life of the people who are there. How is it affecting them in a positive way? You need to make sure that you minimize the strain on the local infrastructure, making things more economically viable, more environmentally viable. At the same time, you also need to ensure that you are providing comfort to the people, occupant comfort. So what we talk about occupant health and comfort is that you need to make sure that the place is acoustically viable. It should be, thermally viable. It should be, thermally comfortable, visually impelling, so you need to make sure that you're addressing all the aspects for a healthy living in your particular design. Now, during the construction phase, most of the times you might have seen that, safety and sanitation for construction workers is something, which is avoided, or, it is something which is neglected. Now, but we need to also understand that, that this workforce is the invisible workforce that we have in the Indian story. Now, if we look at the employment sector, almost 53% of the labor force is right now into agriculture. But if we look at, the other side, the other remaining 50% of the labor part, almost 11 to 10% of the people are directly into the construction sector. And if we look at the manufacturing sector, transport sector, government sector, other sectors, somewhere or the other, people are, interrelated with the construction industry, which takes into account that more than 25 to 30% of the total employment share is in terms of the employment which is governed by our workforce or our laborers. But when it comes to giving them the services, what we demand from them is that they work tirelessly, they give us the best output. But when it comes to us, to give them in return, we give them hutments like this, which are worse than worse than slums. We give them unsafe environment at their working places, compromising their health, compromising on their safety, compromising on their future. A lot of times it has also been observed that that laborers without any safety gears are found on site, and that leads to a lot of casualties on site. When it comes to the casualties, these casualty numbers are very, very high, and and most of the time they are unaccountable also. Now the scenario in India is that that safety is something which is now slowly picking up. But if we look at the other facilities which are given to these labor workers, is the accommodation which is provided to them. So in most of the cases, it was seen that that laborers were given sheds which were worse than cattle yards. Laborers were forced to live under unhumane conditions. And these are all photographs from India itself. So this is the kind of facilities that we are providing to our laborers, giving them hutments which are not worth and inhaling also. The only point is that if you cannot sustain one night in these places, there is no point giving up these kinds of facilities to your construction workers. Just giving a toilet in the name of a partition which does not caters to the basic needs of sanitation, hygiene, then there is no point of giving it. So most of the cases, we have seen that the cases are very, very bad. In fact, a lot of cases have also been reported that children are found to be roaming around on the sites, and that also leads to multiple casualty. You can see this in this photograph that that the small girl is walking barefoot in the steel yard. So there are a lot of challenges that needs to be addressed, and the major reason that we have explored in the last 20 years of our experience, that that most of them are illiterate or they are semi-illiterate, so they do not know their rules, and so they do not know the rules, they do not know their rights. The moment the laborers know their rights, most of the contractors are going to be in jail. Now, high turnover due to the temporary employment varying from days to months. So, they have to, move out for jobs from their villages, wherever they find any job, they take it and they leave it, so that also makes them, semi-trained. And this does not also, trains their skills. There has been exploitation of workers by the contractors and the subcontractors, that has also been reported. And young untrained workers attempt to do this job with shortcuts. Now this is something which is a massive problem that has been seen, and as responsible architects, it is our duty that we address these aspects in our design. Now, with the implementation of GRIHA in the country, we have seen a drastic effect on our site, whether it be in any part of the country. We have seen, we have made sure that workers on the site, they start wearing safety gears, it's be helmets, boots, high visibility jackets, safety gears, in terms of gloves, masks that they wear. Make sure that the children of the construction workers are in a safer and a healthier environment. They are educated, so they come up with a brighter future. So that means provision of crutch on sites, making sure that the construction workers are given clean drinking water to drink, making sure that their sanitation facilities on the site, they're not, it is not mandatory to give them 5-star facilities, but you need to make sure that that you are adhering to the basic level of hygiene, making sure that that at all times on the site, construction workers are equipped with safety gears, so that in any incidents on the site, they do not face any casualty. On construction side, it needs to be made sure that that all the accident prone areas are barricaded, they are netted, so that casualties can be minimized. These are some of the examples that we have seen in our projects, where the project teams have been able to ensure that the casualty ratio is less than 1%, and if there are casualties also, they are also very, very minor casualties. This is one of the case from Kolkata itself, where the project team, they barricaded all the accident prone areas on their site. In fact, even to make sure that if someone has to climb down or climb up on the construction site, the temporary staircase which were made, they were also well netted, and this was the reason they were able to make sure a zero casualty ratio on their site. This is another development which was coming up in Delhi, where they made sure that that all the accident prone areas were netted, and netted to the extent that no major casualties could be adhered to. And not just that, if you go to tier 3 cities also, this is one of the cases from Kolhapur, where the project team had made these temporary ramps to make sure that that you move onto the site without any casualty or without any accidents. In this particular site, when we landed up on the site, from the past 24 hours, it was continuously raining. But we were quite surprised to see that, because of the measures that were taken on the site work was not at all affected at any cost. So make sure that that you give the right safety gear to the right construction worker, depending upon the activity that they are involved in, whether it be mixing of ready mix plaster, whether it be work related to carpentry, whether it be work related to pumping applications. You need to make sure that the necessary safety gears are provided to them. Also make sure that that the living conditions that are providing to them, whether it be temporary also, it should be at least equipped with basic light, basic facility of air ventilation, making sure that the spaces are clean, hygienic, sanitized, providing them with clean drinking water facility, providing them with food which is hygienic, as well as at the same time carries nutrition value, making sure that on the sites you have a health facility center or a first aid facility available for the construction workers. So these are small initiatives which add up, and they create a lot of difference in the construction sector. And that is what we want you guys to learn and implement those things into your design. Now the design impacts that we see are just not just limited to the construction part, but it also starts on building up when you start operating a building. So your work does not stop at this point. This was the start. Now it is time that that you have to create a harmonized environment so that it socially uplifts the society. Now for the social upliftment, what you need to do, you need to make sure that you create healthy spaces where people can communicate with each other. They could gel up with each other, they could exchange their ideas with each other, so that we build up a healthy environment. And this is what we called the livability index, and this is what we also call happiness index. Make sure that the spaces that you provide, they are green. You have habitable, you have the natural habitat in and around you. So it is not just the humans which create the habitat. Trees, shrubs, birds, animals, mammals, these all creatures, they are also part of our habitat. So make sure that you create an environment that where we all live in a very sustainable and a very communal harmonized environment. Making sure that that the spaces are health free in terms of they are healthier. So making sure that smoking is something which should be which should not be allowed within the campuses, and to make sure that it is imposed signages and other measures and other innovative measures are looked upon into your building design. There are many interesting ways to also educate the society about the environmental concerns. Drives, it could be a waste drive, it could be waste cleanliness drive, it could be a tree plantation drive, it could be a nukkad natak, it could be walks, it could be marathons. So there are various multiple methods through which you can promote sustainability. All of you might have also heard about the sustainability walk, which was just now being concluded by Geeta Balakrishnan ma'am. And where she had done a lot of these walks, sustainability walks from Delhi to Dhaka, from Kolkata to Dhaka, from Delhi to Kolkata, and many others. So, you have to look out for innovative ways through which you can impart this knowledge of sustainability at the grassroots level, which is also a part of, which is also part of your educational curriculum in terms of your responsibility as an architect. Making sure that you impart this knowledge is something which we look in your designs through any means. It could be through posters, it could be through drives, it could be through multiple methods that we will look forward in your design, in this design competition of the GRIHA Trophy. Making sure that you create barrier-free movement for everyone, people, disabled people with special needs, or whether it be elderly people, whether it be pregnant women, whether it be ill people. You need to make sure that that they could easily, independently move and explore the places on their own. So for that you need basic things like toilets for them, special toilets for them, making sure that the railings are provided, anti-skid tiles are there, dual handrails are there, ramps are there, so that that their walking or their mobilization could be without any barriers. Making sure that you increase the oxygen generation on your site by green cover. So that is another very important thing, where streetscaping, xeriscaping, landscaping is a very important element. In the past trophies, we have seen that that you guys just put up xeriscaping, landscaping without understanding the essence of it being there. So this year we would expect that you learn the concepts, you come up with innovative ideas. You should be very thorough with your research. If you are planting a xeriscaping, if you are planting a specific type of a tree, just look out the reason of planting that tree, that why this tree, why not that tree. So we want this year that the students or you guys should do an intense research and then design your space. Make sure that the places are healthier, and make sure that the places are recreational. With recreational, I mean that it should be transformative, it should be used for multiple applications. Making sure that it gel up with the local environment of the local culture of the place where you are designing this particular place. I'll give you a very small example. So this is the view which we have taken from the terrace of the VVIP Circuit House in Pune. Now, this circuit house in Pune is basically a residing place a temporary residing place for the Chief Minister of Maharashtra when he visits the district. So when he visits the district, there are a lot of farmers, there are a lot of people in and around the place who come to meet and greet him and discuss the problems that they are facing and the challenges that they're facing. Now, instead of making them sit in a air conditioned room, the architect has designed a transformative space where people can sit under the shade of the tree, they can enjoy the built environment, and this is what there they come from. So this does not give them a feeling of intricacy that that, oh, we went to the chief minister's residence, there was air conditioner. They should don't feel deprived of it. Placing an air conditioner does not mean that you are deprived of something. Certainly you are hampering the environment. At the same time, if someone is enhancing the environment or taking due advantage of the environment, you should encourage that. And that is what something which has been been reciprocated in this particular design, which reflects very well in this design, and which I believe this photograph speaks 1,000 words in itself. Now there is the forgotten gender that we also need to think about. Whenever it comes to gender, we forget the third gender, the transgender community, and that is something which we look forward that you try to create at least one toilet for them, all gender toilets for them, so that they do not feel deprived and they do not feel out of the society. And that is what the design should talk about. You should also need to make sure that safety and security from your site is also not getting compromised. There are various methods through which safety, security can be enhanced. This is some of the measures which the SOS button facility, which is something which is followed in most of the Western cities, Western countries. But we look forward for innovative ideas from you. Now, we don't want you to copy paste the Western design morphologies simply in your concepts. We want you to create innovative ideas through which you can address this issue of safety and security in your design. So with that, I thank you with the brief of this particular session, and I believe I have been able to answer the questions that you had in the session, in the questionnaire that was briefly shared with us. If there's anything else apart from this, we could take one or two quick questions, because since we are running out of time. So you can float your questions in the chat box. See, this question, parking space, is it something which is mentioned in the design brief? No, it is not. So please do not, conceptualize things on your own. Whatever is being given to you in the design, just follow that. I actually wanted to how the contours are hidden on the site. So again, as I told you that we have already shared a CAD file with you where all the contour lines are already drawn. In case you are finding difficulty to draw a contour line, you can get in touch with your faculty members or your seniors. They will be able to guide and help you out with defining the gradations on the site. The north on the site is brief in different from the actual north of the actual site. Which north do we have to consider? Okay, so okay, so in that case, you follow the Google Maps, and the north that you find on the Google Maps is something what you need to follow. Okay, the statue of Swami Vivekananda is present on the site, and some public facilities, etc. Toilet block is also situated on the site. Do we have to incorporate all of the other elements of the existing features in your? So that we leave it up to you. So we cannot disclose each and everything to you on this particular plate. You need to define the things on your own. If you want to revive them, make cases that how you, or design a concept that how you can revive them. If you want to revamp them, just revamp them. We totally leave it up to you. What about the basement heights that is incorporated, that's mentioned in the brief? How are we supposed to incorporate the basement heights of 18 meters given? Okay, so when the basement height of 18 meters is given to you, this is basically a detail which has been given to you. Now it is up to you whether you want to use it or not. Okay, so this is a standard definition of the basement which is given to you, that you can go up to a height of 18 meters in depth for drafting your basement. Now, if you want to draft it, you draft it. If you don't want to build it up, you can leave it up. That's totally up to you. I believe this basement question is now clear, because this is something which is coming repeatedly. While checking the slopes of the site, we realized that slope direction is contradictory to the existing contours provided in the brief. Okay, so usually what happens is that when there are, sites which are developed, they are not always going to be, towards the ocean or towards the sea, to make sure, that it creates a baffle wall. So that is the reason you will find that the contours are going to the other side. So what we will suggest you is that you follow the contours which are given to you as per the drawings. What are the blue and green lines on the TWG file indicates? Okay, so there is a line of a drain, I believe, that you're talking about, if I'm not wrong. So that's a drain which is there, and this drain is basically a stormwater drain. Okay, and the site plan shows a drain. Okay, so I've told you that this is a drain which is not underground, it is a surface drain, and this drain is basically for the for the surface runoff water. Other than the spaces mentioned in, is there any specific number we have to design spaces for? No. So this is the beauty of this design, of this design brief, is that, we have given you some sample spaces, some sample design elements. Now we totally leave it up to you the way you want to craft this, the way you want to design this space. Now, it could be X number of applications that you can incorporate in this particular design. It could be one, it could be two, it could be 10, it could be 20. You want to design your site over weekends in a different format, over weekdays, morning times you want to, design it in a different method, whereas in the evening times you want it to be, operational as a different method. So we totally leave it up to you, that how you design this space. And that is the beauty of this space, that since this space is available to you 365 days, and this space is free for usage to be designed in terms of the requirements that you want to fill in up as the social requirements, you fill it up the way you wish to. How do we set baselines and targets for energy, water, according to which typology? Okay, so when it comes to, designing the baselines for water energy, you always look at the GRIHA standards. In the GRIHA standards, GRIHA version 2019 manual, we have predefined the EPI values, the energy performance index values, as well as we have also defined the water performance index values. You should look at that. How should we consider the carbon impact assessment? So, okay, for carbon impact assessments, there are multiple methods that could be looked at. It could be, during the construction phase, you could look at the operational phase. And to calculate the carbon impact assessment, you majorly need to look at the four basic aspects. One is the energy part, the energy that your building is or your project is consuming. The second is the water, how much amount of water is being consumed by a project. The third one is the waste generation, that how much amount of waste is being generated by your site. And the fourth one is the materials that you are using to design your project. So based on these four, dimensions, you can define your carbon impact assessment. There are a lot of calculators. There are a lot of softwares available in the market. Free of cost softwares are also there. Softwares on, trial versions, softwares on educational versions are also available. You may refer any one of them if you wish to, and you can calculate your carbon impact assessment for your particular project. And you should try to strive that, that your project comes out to be a net zero carbon or a net positive carbon project. Okay, so we may take one or two more quick questions before we conclude today's session. Under observation number 3, the term iterative approach has been used. Can this phrase be put in a simple way? Okay, let me just go through it. Okay. So with iterative approaches and integration of strategies, what we are actually meant was is something which I already explained you in my presentation, where during the construction phase, what are the kind of considerations that you need to consider, and post consideration, what kind of a parameter that you need to define for making sure that the occupants and the society is benefited. Can we make space time restraint? What does that mean? This means. Sorry, can you just elaborate a bit? Can we make space-time restraint? I didn't get you on this. Socioeconomic sustainability means supporting people's social and cultural lives through formal and informal processes. Is mentioned in the term formal and informal processes. Be more elaborated. Okay, so formal and informal certainly means that formal spaces means that you make proper kiosk, which is permanent structure. Informal processes or informal spaces means that you create mobilized kiosk, which is right at the moment is used as a juice counter, but it could be transformed into a let's say for example a medicine vending machine in the night. This is something which is called an informal process, and when time comes, this could be very easily removed. You might have seen the definition of informal and formal in various aspects, and the same thing with logic you need to apply in this particular project. Time to use the space. So the time, as I told you, 365 days, 24/7. The space is yours. Use it the way you want it to be. But of course, you need to make sure that you are not compromising on the safety, security, and your site is not creating any nuisance. Because you need to understand that this particular site is a very, very prime located site, which is also a tourist spot, which is also a place where a lot of other cultural activities, social activities are also getting evolved. So you need to make sure that you're not compromising on any of those facts. If you wish, you can keep the the site or your place shut down for certain hours. That is also upon you. We'll totally leave it up to you. If you want this site to be like operational only 1 month in the entire span of 1 year, we are also open for that. So that we leave it up to you, that how do you want to utilize this piece of land. It is purely your call, and your design should speak that. Let's say for example, if you say that you're using this particular piece of land for any X activity for 1 month of the entire 12 months of duration, it should have that credential value to it. Okay, I think with that we conclude today's session, and I think we have been able to answer the questions that you had, and I believe the presentation that we have given to you today, this brief will help you in summarizing the things well for you, so that you come up with better designs. We would urge all the participants please to not look at the previous sheets and copy paste the design elements which were there. We want you to come up with innovative ideas, and you will be strongly marked on that. So please do not copy paste your previous designs, whatever your seniors have done. We are looking for very, very innovative designs, concepts this year. So please make sure that that you line by it. Okay, so over to you, the NASA team.
Yeah, hi sir, this is Nikhil. I'm Trophy's head from NASA India. First of all, apologies for the technical issues we faced today, and indeed it was a very informative session. This is the first time we are having socio-economic sustainability as a theme for GRIHA, and we from the councils and would like to extend our gratitude for the such an amazing brief and this kind of amazing decode session. Looking forward to have an amazing entries from student participant as well.
Same here, Team NASA. We would also like to wish all the best to all the teams who are competing for this particular trophy, and we really have high hopes. This is the 10th year, the 10th trophy. So we are looking for some good designs. We are looking for something big this year. So which creates a drastic difference for the coming trophies. So with that, I thank all of you. I especially like to thank the NASA team for, organizing this particular session and, coming up with this idea of design brief, breakthrough. And with that, we end today's session. Thank you all and wish you all the best.